Senior Stay or Go TV today. We have a phenomenal guest, but before we get to our guests, I'll let Ron mention our Senior Stay or Go board behind us.
Really? Wow. She threw me a curve. She threw me life a curveball. So for those that aren't familiar with our field of life, here it is behind you. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is that life is throwing you a curveball. And how do you react to that curveball? And what is your mindset going to be when you get that curveball thrown at you? So we're going to have an amazing discussion on that. And really, we have the family member here today. And we always usually put the family member out in the bleachers because usually our goal is to get the family member to be a cheerleader, an advocate for the parent, for the senior, and not so much in the day-to-day trenches, because usually that's when animosity creates and there's friction and do it my way, don't treat me like a child, and there's all kinds of problems when the mother-daughter get bad, so to speak. So we usually want to put them in the bleachers. But today the conversation is really going to be how to have a mindset when you are a child caregiver, and that to do it properly and really learn from those experiences. So this is everybody that really should be in your wheelhouse if you are a caregiver, if you are in a position of caring for an elder person, and we can talk about it at length. And the other big news is we do want to say something that Patty and I have moved to a company called Compass, where we will be practicing what we do for a living actually, is we do residential real estate on behalf of working with older adults. And we have moved to Compass. And if you want any more information about that, please reach out to us. It's been an amazing 2 weeks.
Except I would like to be called a mature adult, not an older adult.
Is that what they're calling you?
Yeah, I would like it.
Is that what I just called you, as an older adult? Well, you are an old. No. We are pre-teen older adults.
Yeah, thank God.
We are a tweener
for now
between senior citizen and true senior citizen. So I will let you proceed.
So Jeannie Smith is our guest today, and Jeannie has a fantastic background. She's the president of HRX Inc., which is a coaching and consulting company. And she has 25 years of experience in human resources, which is huge. And she likes to empower people and re-energize their lives. So as the youngest of 6 children, she's had a journey with her mom, who asked her to promise her to please never put me in a home. And at the time that Jeannie said, "Mom, I promise," she had no idea what she was getting herself into, like many of us. And she just wanted to be able to share today. And I think this is really important because the journey is not an easy journey. Even if you're out in the bleachers trying to simply be an advocate from the outside and you're not there on a daily basis, it's still an extremely taxing journey. And so she has found a way to understand what that commitment really means and learned quickly what a huge responsibility it would be, and how changing her mindset really helped both her and her mom and their relationship along the way. So with that, I welcome you very much.
Well,
thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is probably the number one topic that we are involved with, is the friction and the angst between the mother, daughter, father, son, whatever. So
well, and it's siblings, so it's a multitude of things.
Yeah. So tell us how tell us your journey a little. We're going to have questions, but tell us your journey and your mindset and how it benefits caregivers and the loved ones.
Well, it's funny you bring up siblings, and you mentioned that I'm the youngest of 6, but when it came down to caring for my mom, I am like the only youngest of 6 only child. Because where are they, right? So that's okay.
And this is going all over the internet. So if they're hearing this,
hi guys.
Hello.
Seriously,
where have you been?
Step up to the plate. I'm not afraid to admit the fact. So yeah, it was. I've actually had an opportunity to figure out how to see caregiving as a true honor, and it not be a burden. And that has changed my life completely. I'm actually have time for my self-care and my mom. And when I am with her, 100% present. And so we can get into that a little bit. So yes, you mentioned the my promise that I made to my mom. So when she said, you promised me, oh, sure, mom, you know, 17, 18-year-old kid is like, sure, whatever you want, mom. Well, she kept reinforcing that all these years, fast forward 30 plus years. And now all of a sudden I'm like, what are we going to do with mom? I could buy a new house. I could do a granny flat. I could do all these things. Well, this is a lot, and I still have to have 24/7 care. So ultimately, I did have to put her in a home, but the way that I had to view it had to change, or it would. I'm not honoring this commitment, this promise that I had given my mom, right? So I had to look at it as what's the number one goal of a caregiver, and you both have told me you've been in this situation, is the safety of the individual, the safety of your loved one. And it's not just the physical safety, it's the sense of security. And like I go into every encounter with my mom, she knows it's true love and trust. And every decision that I make for her, she knows I'm doing it for both of our best interest. And so it's really, it didn't start out this way. My first couple years of being a caregiver.
It had to be a transition.
And also just listen to the words you chose initially to the words you're going to choose as we get more into this conversation. So your first words were, I put her in a home.
Yes.
Not I moved her to a community that could best meet her needs.
There you go, exactly. It's all, and we're going to get into some words, like choice of words, because it really is our choice.
Yes.
But yes, it was, my self-care went to the wayside. Once I was able to really control my mindset and how I want to choose to show up daily with my mom, even if it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, how do I want to be when I leave there? Because that's what I have to take away too. But it's also meeting her where she's at and how is she feeling at our moment together. And that's all that matters. She just wants me to be there for her.
Exactly.
Doing whatever, coloring, painting, sitting and staring at her. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
We're together. The love is there.
Exactly.
But yeah, I ended up, once I figured it all out, I put everything in check. I work out daily. I've lost 32 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's a huge shift in my entire life.
So why is it important for you to share what you've learned along the way? Because I always said, I didn't want to waste what I learned through the School of Hard Knocks, because people don't tend to go through this more than once in their lives, hopefully. And
so
if they do,
it actually gives me the chills to think about this. So I know how scary it is. I know how lonely it is. And yes, I have siblings, but I was solo on this mission. And it is, you don't know what you don't know. And there's so much that you don't know, this is great that you have all this for folks. I had to take my mom to the emergency room, and there was a doctor there. It was Mother's Day, actually, of 2017, 18. And the doctor took the time to ask me, what are your plans for mom? And I'm thinking, well, we just got to get her an x-ray and move on. He's like, no, your plans for mom. And then he's like, what are your plans for you? And I'm like, you're the
what
first
a great doctor.
Right?
Really? Let's give him
I'm
a
like,
shout
where did you
out.
come from?
Yeah.
Angel. So I said, nobody has asked me that. And I might get a little emotional, but I'm like, can I give you a hug? And with tears in my eyes, I felt like I had a family member. I had somebody to talk to, somebody who, and I know he wasn't going to be there forever, but he was building a plan with me right then and there for the 72 hours of my mom at the hospital so she could be transferred, so everything's covered, so I'm not putting her in my car. All these details people don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
No.
And,
So is this a shock to you in terms of that you were going to be the sole caregiver?
well,
or was it just
somewhat. It's, again, we're live. I don't want to say too
You
much.
kind of always hope you're going to have a little bit of
I
help.
thought I would have at least some emotional support, and that was not really there either. So it's, I mean, my husband's wonderful, and my son, he's only going to be 9. So it's like they're great, but
So you truly are a sandwich generation.
big time, which is a whole nother ball game for folks, you know. I get it. But yeah,
it's,
this doctor.
it's awesome that you had him, because so many times you know you bring your loved one to the hospital and they say, okay, you got 5 minutes to
Right.
get him out of that bed. It's
Right.
like, what do you mean 5 minutes? What do
Oh,
we
no.
do? Where do we go?
This was a
So
Sunday.
that was an angel.
Mother's Day on a Sunday. He was taking his time. He was explaining things to me. And I want to be that person for other people, because you're not, you may be alone. You may be an only child. You may be the only child, youngest of 6 like me. But I can help folks through the process. It's emotional, it's physical, it's mentally draining. And
Yes.
some days you're like, how do I get home? You're so tired from everything that happened that day, but they don't have to be alone.
So what was your mom's diagnosis at that time?
She had multiple fractures in her spine, some that she had been self-healing for a couple years. So she's had severe osteoporosis, dementia, and that's pretty much.
And she
what
was
her
living alone.
Yes.
So she
Yes.
put on a good show when you would come to visit.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
Great show,
I
right?
actually learned this on one of your shows. Was the how the reserve that they can come back with answers to things that are so convincing. And I also, this is my mom. I don't want to believe that we're getting to the end and she's aging out. That's another term that I've created. Aging out. Do I want to believe it? So I would not see.
Denial's a wonderful thing sometimes.
Oh my gosh,
isn't it?
because it's easier that day.
Exactly.
So I would let her drive, but you should see her car. I would, she'd tell me about, like I'd ask her, why do you have bruises, or what's on your legs? What happened? She had no knowledge of it, and I just, she hit the wall, whatever, right? Like, so I wanted to believe these things. In hindsight, all the signs were there. So that's another thing I'd want to tell your listeners is,
Yes,
be
please.
aware of the signs. Don't be in denial over it, because they're there, and you don't want it to get so bad that they're not safe. And I was so lucky my mom didn't, hurt anybody in her car. She didn't hurt herself. But, the day you were saying the animosity between a daughter and a mother, when I tried to take her car away, oh, wow. I'd never seen a woman like that before, ever. I'm like, here's your keys. I'm just going to go away. But then I knew I had to return, right?
We were lucky. I was driving my mom's car and the muffler fell off, and they don't make parts for the car anymore.
I thought about those things. Can I do something to the ignition? Can I do something to the battery? And she would just go get another one. She's resourceful.
So give us a little bit of the journey. It started here. Started down here. And when did somebody coach you to have this light bulb, or how did you make a life transition?
Well, so I've been in human resources all these years, as you mentioned, and I went to coaching school. I'm a certified coach, and we learned a lot about mindset work. And I'm certified in this tool to assess energy leadership, and that's really how you want to show up. And you have choices, and you can decide how you want to respond versus react. And that's anything in your life. That has changed my life, learning these techniques in this tool that I've had to go through to be certified. And I also help other people go through it. You think about what triggers the emotional response. And if you're aware of what that is, you can control it and respond a different way in a split second. So it's a technique that can be taught. And I learned that. It's really changed my life.
Well, give us a little example. You have an example you can...
Oh, I have a really funny example. I'm sure you probably want one around my mom. Okay, this is great. So for example, and it won't be specific to my mom, but for example, if you go to visit your loved one and they are on the golf course mentally, but you know darn well they're not in the golf course because they're laying in their hospital bed or wherever they are, go there. Start playing golf with them. What's the harm, right? Like, you have a second to be like, you're in a hospital bed, you're not on the golf course.
Yeah,
why do that?
Yeah, why argue?
Well, it's tough on you physically, but and
hurts them
emotionally,
too.
oh my God, it's horrible on them. Don't ever tell them what you don't remember. Like, I have eliminated the word remember out of my vocabulary. I do not use it at all.
Yep.
Because what does that do for her? And the reality is, it's not about me. It's about Mom. That's why I'm there. She assigned me to be her power of attorney, make all the decisions for me because she trusts me. She did that 16 years ago. So I'm honored to have that role. Sorry, 5 other siblings, that you didn't get it, but that's an honor. And I
Yes,
truly
I
feel
agree.
that way. So when I show up, I don't, oh my God, I have to go see my mom. Guess what? I get to see my mom today. I still get
that's
to
nice.
spend time with her. So I only had like 45 minutes last night. I ran over there. I'm like, how's it going? So good. And every time, and I know she's doing good, she compliments me on something, earrings, my whatever I'm wearing. I'm like, oh, she's in a good state. And if she's not, if she's out on the golf course, I'll go there with her. I had a friend of mine whose grandmother used to go shopping in her room. Like, oh, I would like to buy this. How much is it? And she would just go along with it. What's the harm? Meet them where they are.
That's a
right?
great point.
Huge difference on you. So what you end up doing is you leave, you did good. Like
Right,
I
right.
try to be an everyday leader of just happiness and joy. Like it's just what I do, now. And I meet people in the elevator and I'm like, oh, what's the harm in giving them a compliment?
Exactly.
But the same thing in the nursing home. Like Mother's Day, I was thinking, what could we do? And I'm also trying to sandwich generation, teach my son good manners, right, and be respectful. So we bought as many balloons as we could fit in my car and brought them to the nursing home and handed them out to all
that's
the women
cool.
there.
Oh,
That's cool.
that's sweet.
Well, he will be a very respectful young man.
I hope so. I hope so.
So we know how passionate you are about speaking and coaching and the mindset. And what kind of values do you feel, you just gave an example of the talk, but what kind of values do you think a caregiver really needs to bring to the equation?
So that's a really good question. And everybody lives their life by their own values. So often it is how they were brought up. And I go through this exercise with a lot of individuals. Take a piece of paper, and maybe some of your listeners want to do this now. Take a piece of paper and just put old rules. And these are things that you were programmed as maybe your whole life to just do. You just do. And so that becomes your value. But is it really who you are? And so now that we're adults, you don't have to live the way that your father, your mother, your grandmother, whoever told you how to do this. So flip the page over, and what are your new rules? Like, take something, for example, and this eat everything on your plate, right? So, yes.
They're
Poor
starving
starving
somewhere.
children.
Oh, yes. And I'd always be like, just feed it to them then. I don't want it.
Exactly.
And so if I continued that path my whole life, eating everything on my plate, go to some of these restaurants. How could you do that? So you flip it and say, no, how are you going to consume food or whatever it is, right? So I encourage people to those old rules and then create your new set of values. And so what is something that you will not compromise? Like, when you know what your values are, you'll figure out what triggers the reaction, right? And then you'll be able to respond. But you have to know what your core values are. That's something else I take people through, an exercise of figuring out what their current values are, their core values, not what somebody else created for them. And that's a big deal.
That's interesting.
It's a big deal for a lot of people because maybe they went and became a doctor because their dad or mom was a doctor, they wanted them to, or whatever it is, but now you have a choice. That's the beauty, is you're an adult. The choice is yours to change tomorrow the way you want it to be. Because you only have tomorrow. You only have the moment, right?
So you talk about doing this with individuals, and you talk about coaching groups as well.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever coached siblings? Because what I think happens a
I've
lot.
tried.
And I don't mean your own.
Right,
I know.
right.
But I think what happens is when we're in crisis mode, or what do we do now? Because, everybody always said, well, there's so much information on the internet. But like you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. So you
No.
get on the internet and you stare at the screen, and you could stare at it for 2 hours and not find anything of any value because you're not even sure what you're looking for.
Or you can come up with everything, and everybody is going to have cancer tomorrow, right?
Exactly. So what happens a lot of times is roles go back to the roles when you were kids, but you're not kids anymore. And how you
Everything's
respond and how everybody's reaction is different. So have you ever done that with a family of, like,
No,
for
but I think
example,
it would be
3
great.
children?
I think it would be great. Adult children now managing mom's situation or dad's situation or grandma's
Or
situation.
mom and dad.
Yes, mom and
We
dad.
had mom and dad.
Yes. No, it's a great idea. I certainly see the value there.
Because that's where Patty and I have spent hundreds of transactions and journeys, is when
yes.
mom and dad have passed away. now the patriarch, matriarch are gone, and the knives start to come out. Well, you didn't let me do this when I was 4 years old, or you did this. And
I've heard it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now I'm going to get you. And Mom, could they have named you as the trustee of the trust? You're, blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh. And so that's really where.
Oh, I definitely see. Yeah. That could be very helpful to families.
Families, before the passing of Mom or Dad, to say, hey, this is what could happen.
Yes. I could definitely see
So the
that.
mindset of, as Mom and Dad age, if we could have your mindset, the mindset that you have today towards the care of Mom and Dad, maybe that would help.
Oh, it would be wonderful. Could you imagine how they would all sleep differently at night? Just
Yeah,
like,
right.
oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's something I often ask people, like, what's another way to look at the situation? Like, stop what you're doing. Think about this. You're about to react, but you want to respond. You know how you want to respond. How many times do people go, God, why did I do that? Stop for a minute, ask yourself, what's another way to look at this? Whatever it is that you're going through. The pause helps you kind of, oh yeah, that was a value of mine that's being triggered, or a memory when I was a child that's being triggered, but I know it's not in the best interest of this family to react that way, and I don't want to. I want my brothers and sisters to love me beyond this. I want to respond in this way. So I always ask them, what's another way to look at it? And they're like, I've never even thought about that, but it's such a simple question. I always ask myself, stop, hold on. Because you are, like, why is this guy in front of me going so slow? Oh, and I thought this for like 8 years now. Maybe he has a wedding cake in the back.
There you go.
Think about that.
There you go. You don't know what's going on in
I don't
someone
want
else's
him to
life.
mess up that person's wedding cake, so how different is that? So quick, too.
That's a good one.
I've been thinking about it now every
because
time.
I drive a lot. We drive a lot in traffic, so we are not the most pleasant people.
Well, now you're going to be like, oh, maybe he has a wedding cake in the back.
I may have to. Well, I'll have to think of something. Maybe I don't know about a wedding cake on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, well,
well, they
you
could.
never know anymore.
They could. They
You
could.
never
They
know.
could have
Yeah,
something.
it could be anything.
They could have a puppy dog. They could have
something
a
that
baby.
they don't want.
Right,
They don't
right.
want to. They don't want to go too fast for.
Right.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Because driving with her, wow, oh my gosh.
So
Okay, now
one,
see, you're like siblings.
what is one of the most useful questions you've asked others?
I think I actually just brought that up. My most useful question is, what's another way
okay.
to look at it? Really, what's another way to look at the situation? And you can ask yourself that very quickly and respond very quickly in your head. So one thing we haven't touched on, and I think is really important, is when I talk about words that you use. And it's not just what you say, what comes out of your mouth to somebody else, but it's the self-talk within your head. So this is what I was mentioning. How do you want to respond? So things like, I get to see my mom today. Oh my God, I have to go see her. That never comes out of my mouth anymore, because I am honored that I still have an opportunity to see her. You know how many people don't? She's 87 now. I say she's pushing 87. She's 87. So I'm like, I'm lucky to still have her and talk to her and get a compliment from her and hug her, Or what we're doing now is I just bring fun stuff, like as if whatever. And it's not to discredit her intelligence or put her down or put her in shame at all. I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be fun to paint by numbers like we did when I was little? Like, when I was little, can we do this?
You're still the child.
Still.
And she's still the mom.
She still wants, she'll
Right,
always be
don't,
my mom.
don't.
And that's huge. I'm glad you actually brought that up, because she told me, don't treat me like a child. That was another one. And I'm like, you know what? Because that triggers their value and they're going to react. You want them to respond to you. Because in the end, I mean, the reality, she's not living forever. So when she's gone, I'm going to look back at these moments in time. And I'm actually working with an artist who we're trying to develop a program for seniors and caregivers. So the caregiver and the senior come together, and we'll have some sort of like coaching session, and then it will be incorporated with some elements through each of the sections. They'll do some art project together, and then the caregiver can keep that as a keepsake beyond the life of mom or dad, because they had this opportunity to spend this time together. And so the caregiver is going to have to help them with the process. In some cases, depending on what stage they're in, and we're thinking that would be
Have
really
you,
fun.
I mean, from a business perspective, have you gone where your mom is living now? Have you gone to them and said, you know what, why don't you invite
Yes.
all the children to come in? And
We're going to.
Okay.
We're going. That was our plan.
Okay.
I've just been on too much travel. That's
Right.
So.
But
I'm
that's
back
something that all the senior communities
Yes.
should invite you into, and have all the children come in and say,
That's
let me
what I-
tell you
Wouldn't that
my
be fun?
journey and how, and I would have to believe your mom realizes this. I have to believe what you've done.
Oh, she does.
Okay.
Like she asked me, she goes, so what have you been doing? I go, well, tomorrow morning I was telling her about that I was going to come here. She goes, well, that's great. That's great. So yeah, she does. There's times she's not 100% dementia. I mean,
There's good days and bad days.
Absolutely, as you know.
And enjoy them while you can. Because
Oh, I
when it's
do.
all bad days, it's really hard.
But on the bad days, like there's something about me and her
Yes.
she's that I come and I pull her out of it.
It's funny you say that because I used to go and spend a week with my mom every month out of state. And when I let my hair go gray, I walked in and she looked at me and she was already at the point of not speaking.
Okay.
And she gave me this look like, who are you? And don't touch me, because she kind
Oh,
of pulled away
yeah.
instead of usually she'd move forward. And then when she heard my voice,
She
and I
was
said,
like-
Mom, it's Patty. And she's like,
What did she? But she couldn't speak. I would say she's probably like, "What'd you do with your?" You know how they're so direct.
Exactly.
My mom's like, "Your hair
There's
looks
no
yellow.
filter.
Your
Yeah.
hair looks yellow." I'm like, "Yellow? I didn't think it would ever be yellow, but okay."
yeah, there's no filter.
Yeah. No, it's entertaining.
So that's I mean, before we wrap up today, the filter situation.
Yes.
How do you work your mindset? Is like if you're in a public setting and she is your mom or saying something that is
Off color.
off the charts. Let's put it that way.
Change the subject. How about those Dodgers? What about the weather? Seniors love to talk about the weather. Just switch the subject. Take control of the situation. And I know it's not always that easy. Not always that easy, but try. And just keep trying. Don't give up. That's a huge, just don't give up.
Yeah,
'Cause-
it's not always easy because
No.
I have the honor of going through this again with my mother-in-law, and we were just there, and there was a woman in front of us who was walking with her walker, and she was hunched over, and she's like, really loud, why is she like that? Doesn't she know if she stood up straight, she'd be able to walk a lot faster because she's walking really slow? And we're like, well, we're going to go to the car now, and then we're going to go for a little
yes,
ride.
now I know what you're saying. Yes, I've had that. I'm like, wow, because you taught me not to do these things. Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's a hard one.
It's interesting. I mean, we've all been there. Like this is uncomfortable.
And if the other people had more knowledge then they would understand.
Right.
That's just the thing. They don't know yet. They don't know yet.
Jeannie, we have to wrap it up. We want to
Okay.
give you if you have a last pearls of wisdom. This is the subject that I think we could all just go on for days
Well,
on.
and you might want to let everybody know how they can get
get a hold of you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
please do.
So I'm actually on Instagram, Jeannie Smith at HRX Inc. I'm also, I have a Facebook group, a private group. It's all about the mindset.
Oh.
So you can find me on there or search Jeannie Smith HRX on Facebook too. I encourage you to join the group.
Yeah, that's
which
definitely.
would be great.
Definitely.
And then, yeah, if anybody's interested in this art project that we're planning to do with my artist friend, that would be wonderful. Or an energy leadership assessment, if anybody was interested in that, I would be
Is
willing
there a
to.
website you want to give out? or is it
My
Facebook?
website is www.hr-rx.com. And I'll give 20% off anybody who mentions Senior Stay or Go show.
Oh, thank you.
So that you could do an assessment or the values assessment, energy leadership assessment, or even a coaching session with me.
Well, we
Awesome.
hope you
Thank
are
you.
just swamped, but you still take time for your husband and your son.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
oh yeah.
But that is, as I say, if there's not a number one topic that Patty and I try to help people with, it's this.
Communication.
Communications
Mm-hmm.
as a caregiver, because that is, we always see the caregiver is the one that's going to go, if they don't have the right attitude, they're the ones who go, their health is the one who declines the fastest.
Oh, I know, because I was there.
You were there.
And I'm not anymore.
And you came
it's
back.
so nice on the other side.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being
Yes,
here.
thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank
We
you.
really
Patty, this
appreciate
has
it.
really been a thrill to have you here today, and I hope more and more people reach out to you, because if we could just, one at a time, get people to have a different mindset about their mom and dad, make a big
Be a
difference.
better world.
Get a better world.
Oh,
type
for
of thing.
them, their loved one, everyone, that moment. I mean, all we can do is live in the present.
Right.
And so you need to enjoy that moment.
No regrets.
No regrets. No
Exactly.
regrets.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Please pass this along. I know there's in January 1st of 2021, the first baby boomers turn 75. So how do you like that one? So we know there are millions and millions of people that could benefit from this information. Thank you. Have a great day.